The game of basketball has been around since 1892. Invented for boys, it was quickly adapted for girls, and young women were playing the game in Iowa by the early 1900s. Rules evolved, and in 1934, girls started playing a two-court, 6-on-6 game that put 3 forwards and 3 guards on each side of a center line they weren't allowed to cross. All players were limited to 2 dribbles, and only forwards could shoot the ball. Why not the full-court 5-player game that the boys played? Early on, the boys' game was considered just too strenuous for the so-called weaker sex. But as girls played their game for the next 60 years, each generation proved over and over again that girls were anything but weak.
Brinkmeyer, stop, shoots, good.
Iowa had something so unique in American sports. 6-on-6 basketball in Iowa was about like American Gothic in a portrait.
The distinctive thing about girls' basketball was where it flourished, small-town Iowa. It was there that young women became queens of the court, where communities rallied behind their daughters, and where school leaders, mostly male, fought for girls' equality. Eventually, girls from big cities would play the game, but decades before the Des Moines Easts and the Fort Dodges in the late 1970s and early 80s, the spotlight was on teams from rural Iowa like Garnavillo and Wyoto, Gladbrook and Wellsburg. Towns like these were the soul of 6-on-6. This story is for them.
The popularity of girls basketball in rural Iowa almost immediately confirms that there are farm girls playing. These people were equal opportunity and equal rights before the terms were coined. A farm girl baled hay alongside of her brother. She had just as many chores as her mother had chores alongside her dad. And when you translate that to activities, why couldn't the rural girl or the farm girl play basketball?
I just think the rural communities really embraced it because it was wholesome and it was a family affair and it was unique. There was just a sense of it was our team. They were our girls, and it was a thing of pride to be one. It was a thing of pride to cheer for one.
While the goal of every squad was to play in the state tournament in Des Moines, most teams never got there. Even so, their basketball seasons supplied plenty of hometown glory, as communities would fill their gyms every Tuesday and Friday night to cheer on their girls. In 1955, the girls' basketball tournament moved to Veterans Memorial Auditorium, affectionately known as the Barn. When a school earned a spot at state, the whole community came along for the wild ride. The towns were empty during the week of competition. Afterwards, every team was treated to a homecoming fit for royalty, whether they won the championship or were eliminated in the first round.
I witnessed the whole town came to Veterans Auditorium in Des Moines. It did, the whole town. Towns of 300, 400, 500 people. The entire town would be there.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, you know, the community here in Montezuma, they were just awesome people. I mean, they backed you 100%, and then they followed you to Vets Auditorium, and looking back through some of my scrapbooks here just a few days ago, it's just like you see the crowd. It's just, and it talks about in some of the articles, it's just the town is empty. You know, you could probably come here and rob the town because there's no one here.
If somebody told you it was going to be like the reception like it was, if somebody's going to tell you that, you'd say no, 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 no. So I can remember meeting the caravan of cars. And if there was one car, there was 201 cars. And police escort, you know, sheriff escort. And then when we got here, the gym was packed. It was packed, and there was a welcoming line, and the band played, and people gave speeches. And I can remember some feelings after some games, because we kind of had hard hits when we went to the tournament for a couple years. You know, you felt like you were obligated to win, and you felt kind of that you didn't do your part. But yet when you came back, everyone was like, you know, no, it's okay. This was really cool. This was fun for everybody.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the championship. And you can tell who won it as you look out there at Lakeview Auburn going absolutely mad.
For decades, 6-on-6 was the breadwinner for the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union. In 1975, girls basketball brought in nearly 80% of the union's total gross income. A few years later, the sport made enough revenue to support 15 others. While Texas, Tennessee, and Oklahoma have had longtime girls basketball programs, none has been continuous. Additionally, Iowa has held official state basketball tournaments for young women since 1920. In most other states, such events didn't get underway until the 1970s, some 50 years later.
The crowd eagerly awaits the start of the championship game.
Without a doubt, the crown jewel of the Union was the annual Girls State Basketball Tournament. While always a favorite pastime of Iowans, under Cooley's reign, the finals became not only a night of basketball, but a really good show.
Let the light shine on me. Let the light shine on you.
Players and fans alike relished the fanfare, from the flashy halftime shows to the pride-filled parade of champions. Mike Newell started doing play-by-play for girls basketball in 1966.
The genius of Wayne Cooley, he couldn't guarantee a great basketball game. He couldn't guarantee that this favored team would be in the finals. They may get bumped off, but he could guarantee a good time. This is a celebration, Wayne Cooley and his staff are saying, a celebration of women's basketball. Come on down and experience it.
The thing that made the girls' tournament so unusual was what I always called the marginal audience was a huge part of the audience, a big part of the audience. They're the people that bought the tickets so far in advance so that they could have a seat. They didn't know who they were for and they didn't even care. They just wanted to be there.
The popularity of 6-on-6 was aided by the Des Moines Register and the Des Moines Tribune. Practically from the birth of the girls' game, reporter Jack North promoted basketball. He established his own all-state selections and followed the careers of players with great enthusiasm. The late Jim Duncan Sr. was a longtime advocate and historian of girls' basketball. Most fans will remember him for his dramatic delivery of the Hall of Fame inductions at tournament finals. For decades, more favorable media eyes were on Iowa and girls 6-on-6. Making the trip to Des Moines were CBS, ESPN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, USA Today, and Sports Illustrated, which profiled the Iowa girls several times. By the late 1960s, the 6-on-6 finals were drawing an estimated 5 million viewers in 9 Midwestern states.
It also let them see that something that they were involved in could be not only as good as what the boys were doing, but let's face it, it was better. I mean, the girls' state basketball tournament in its heyday was the #1 spectator event in Iowa, including all other things. I mean, it was the toughest ticket in Iowa for years and years to get to the finals of the girls' tournament. And that had to really enhance the self-esteem of young girls, that they could be involved in something that was that big time and that important.
Here comes Atlantic, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Rhodes inside to Parrott, shoots good.
Wow. I mean, it really socked you right between the eyes because it was so well put on, so intense. And you had to, people say, well, you know, how can you're talking about the girls' state tournament and you've just done an NCAA tournament. I said, hey, you think they're two different levels, but I'll tell you the intensity is in the girls' state basketball tournament. It's greater than anything you're going to find anyplace else.
The speed of a girl forward scoring, the referee getting the ball to center court, and bang, here we go again on the other end. Other than hockey, they were the quickest thing in sports broadcasting I ever saw.
I want to win the state, Iowa girls basketball. I mean, that was the goal. I I never had to go to play college ball. I mean, you know, when I was growing up, it wasn't to go play college. It was to win Iowa Girls State Basketball. So that really shows, you know.
Turn and go left.
Oh, great head fake.
And so, just like that, Iowa's beloved 6-on-6 basketball had come to an end. It was the end of an era that went largely unnoticed by urban dwellers and the rest of the nation. But rural Iowa noticed, small-town Iowa noticed, and thousands of Iowa women who had played the game as girls noticed.
So goodbye, I won't go back.
It really broke my heart because it was a special type of ball, and it was different than the guys. It was our own brand, our own style of basketball. And then the nation, I don't think, watches us as much. We jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak. We're not unique anymore. We're like everybody else.
It was just a wonderful type of ball to play. It was fast, a lot of passing, fast. It was just a great game to watch. It was a great game to play.
I just thought it was a wonderful, something Meredith Willson could have done a great musical about girls basketball. He could, you know, and because it was just that kind of a mid-century type atmosphere, American right down to the core.
I won't go back.
It was so huge for the state of Iowa because I think it showcased women, girls, and their athletic abilities.
Iowa can be proud of its girls' basketball tradition. After all, no other state can boast that for over a century, young women have had the opportunity to play the game. 6-on-6 was a significant part of this history. Its legacy began in rural Iowa, where the young women who played it and the small-town communities that loved it were part of an experience that may never again be replicated in any sport by either gender.
I won't go back.
It stands alone, a beacon of Iowa's uniqueness, certainly the uniqueness of the Iowa girl.